could see I'm good at pointing my camera away from things. I'm wearing shorts. Anyway, you just could only see my knee, it doesn't matter. Hi. Um, as you may have guessed, I just had a shower, so I'm a little wet, but it doesn't matter. Um, I have an idea for a basic observation you can do to prove or disprove time dilation once and for all. Because it doesn't exist. Given that near a planet, space object should, uh, either a rocket or a satellite, should have a certain amount of impulse that is easily calculable, that you would be able to know, like, doing the calculations of gravity, and that you should still see and know whether or not there is time dilation, because the amount of impulse that you have to use versus, for example, interplanetary travel should be either more or less, and it really doesn't matter which one, but you should use a different amount of impulse in order to go through interplanetary space. Or I should say, if you set the satellite to go a certain speed, and then depending on how long it takes to get to a certain place, for example, how Voyager has had a lot of information about it, and all you have to do is track that and its speed and the distance it has traveled. Has time dilation either made it go faster or slower? I know time dilation has a very tiny effect, but Voyager should have, like, and other satellites, ones that have gone near, such as Jupiter or whatever, you should be able to tell whether or not you need to apply more or less impulse in order to achieve the same amount of thrust. And then I came to a different conclusion, which is that, well, I mean, considering the effects of gravity and all that, calculate that, do all of that, have everything be with that, and somehow you still need, you still end up finding out that the time that it took to travel that distance would be different compared to, for example, using that much force, I don't know, on the planet or something. And the problem is that there are all sorts of different effects, such as mostly considering gravity and the pull of it towards the planet. So you would have the satellite using a certain impulse. It should have a different amount of time, and that time should, or it should have a different amount of time that it traveled in order to get there, versus if it just goes in a straight line out in outer space. Or if it goes around, say, the moon, which has a less amount of gravity and other things. And it's like you have to compensate for the gravity, you have to compensate for everything, so you're probably not using the same impulse as you would use to compensate for the planet's gravity. So my initial idea of Eureka, I found a way to fully disprove time dilation, becomes more and more fuzzy when you don't have all those numbers to really calculate correctly. And the only way you would get any of those numbers correctly is if you did the experiments properly. So really only NASA and other people who've sent stuff into space would be able to know stuff. NASA, China, Russia, wherever, Philippines, I don't know. they'd all, whoever has a space center stuff would be able to do these types of experiments. I don't know. I don't have anything based on like someone else's video or whatever. I just had that idea. I found it interesting that I just to mention a different thing. Um, I had the idea of using light as a way of showing how fast you're going, because if you go faster, if the cone of light goes out at a specific angle, if you're just moving on Earth, then once you go faster or slower, that cone will become bigger or smaller, right? So you'd be able to tell your speed simply by using light. And this works great for stuff like spacecraft. And they ended up making some quantum thing near the exact same time. And I'm like, dude, mine is like instant refreshing. It tells you your direction and everything, and you don't even need cold to do it. You just need a flashlight. And it's boggling my mind that they came up with this quantum freezing particles and stuff in order to make it so that when they unfreeze, which direction do they drift towards? That's where you're going. And then calculate your trajectory every second? It's a really bad system. So I was like, well, that's disgusting. Make it better. Well, obviously, if you make multiple systems, but again, that system doesn't work if you're going fast. Because if you go that fast, what happens to the whole system is it breaks down. Um, it'd be nice if they could make a robust system that could work at Mach 10 or Mach 5 or whatever. But I was like, just go to Mach 5 and it's already, go to Mach 2, you're probably already having problems with this system. And it's this navigation system that's like, it's great. It'll tell you exactly where you've gone, and then based off the maps you have, if you have accurate maps and simulations of where you are, then you can know where you have traveled to based on these observations of how far it drifts when you unfreeze this Bose-Einstein condensate. It was really interesting, but it's way overdoing it. Except for it works at slow speeds. Mine works at high speeds. Whatever. I just found it interesting that we came up with the same idea, or we talked about it at the same time. That was ridiculous. No, I didn't research it. I literally thought up my thing, made my video, and then found out whether or not other people have been doing something like that randomly. Just that came up. It was like, oh,